What's going on, guys? I'm going to walk you through a full peak strength training session for our elite level athletes. Let's get into it. Yo, what's going on, guys? Chris Warner here from Overtime Athletes. And for today's video, I'm going to walk you through the last final phase, our peaking phase, before these baseball athletes actually go into spring training. So I just kind of wanted to walk you through the mindset and what we're trying to achieve. So first and foremost, we start off with our first contrast set. Now, I really love being able to elicit some potentiation and really be able to get that acute response with a more dynamic high velocity movement. So first and foremost, we're starting off with a trap bar deadlift. Now, the variation of this trap bar deadlift that we're performing, because we've been hammering absolute strength, I've actually put them in a more staggered stance where that front leg is going to take on majority of the force, or majority of the resistance, I should say, producing majority of the force. Now from here, we're going really low repetitions. We're going about 2 repetitions each side, but I'm going to ask the athlete to really crank up the intensity and really load up. Once they've performed the stagger stance trap bar deadlift, they are then going to transfer that over to a more ballistic power movement. And for today, we're performing a seated med ball vertical toss. So the athlete is going to perform very similar to what a seated box jump would be, but they are going to try to move a light resistance in the form of a med ball as fast and as powerful as they possibly can. So they're going to hold that med ball right to their chest. They're going to go from a dead stop, really focused on being able to shorten that muscle or that concentric action of the movement as powerful and as fast as they possibly can, and then releasing that med ball. So there's no eccentric motion in this. We're really focused on rate of force development here.
Coach, we're gonna get fucking asbestos.
There you go, get your asbestos. Now, after they've gone through a couple sets back and forth with that, we're then gonna switch over to our contrast set for the upper body. Now, these are baseball athletes, so first and foremost, we're gonna perform a vertical push, right? But it's also got a horizontal element to it in the form of a landmine push press. You could say it's a hybrid between a jerk and a push press. I'm not really meticulous on how they're doing it. My whole goal is to get them in a staggered stance and get them on the balls of their feet and pushing from the ground, generating force from the ground, transferring it through the trunk, and then being able to lock out in a overhead press. Again, just like we did before, they're gonna perform very low volume but high intensity. I want them working through the ground, through their feet, all the way up to locking out overhead. Then from there, we're gonna transfer that to a dynamic shot toss. Now, the dynamic shot toss is a final progression to our actual shot toss. We isolate the trunk, we isolate the hips and the trunk through the half kneeling, we isolate the standing, and then the last variation is our overspeed, which is the dynamic. And this is where the athlete builds momentum, right? Increases the amount of speed that they have going into it. They finally transition, switch over, and be able to explode the ball into the wall. And again, just like running and with an overspeed being pulled down a slight decline, this essentially acts in the same manner where the athlete is really trying to elevate the overall force, driving through the ground, and then performing that rotational throw, which is great for baseball athletes. Now, these were our primary 2 strength movements. We did our change of direction session prior to this, and then we finished off with our auxiliary circuit. And for today, because they loaded so much intensity, so much volume between those 2 strength contrast sets, we did a small circuit consisting of a high band row, a Zotman curl, which is essentially working through the forearm, just another, arm flexion variation, if you will. And then we finished off with the trunk where they performed a lateral flexion through the med ball side slam. So you can see how they got the lower body involved and a little bit heavier weight. So they rotated through multiple sets of those 3 exercises to finish off their session. So there you have it, guys. My big thing I wanted to be able to share with you is how in their final phase, we're going more total body. We're focused on contrast. We're focused on stressing a concentric, and then we're also focusing on some of those overspeed drills that we did in those contrast sets to really peak the athlete and prepare them to translate all that speed and power that they've been developing onto the field. Hey, if you're interested in a full baseball off-season program. Go ahead and check out the link down below, and I'll holler at you guys next time.